Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Arms Room 15 podcast. I am joined by my two favorite co-hosts, my gentlemen with me. I have Devin. I have Eric. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Doing good. All right, so we are going to talk about, this is going to be a part two. Oh, yes, all right, this is a part two, or take two, if you will. Take two. Oh, yeah.
I don't want to mess mine up. I have too much electronics over here. It's like...
Fantastic.
I think mine's booby trapped because it's already...
That tastes like ginger ale.
It's ginger beer. So,
I
all
know.
right, so
Well, the ginger beer I had tasted like booty.
Booty?
Yeah.
Was that better?
This is way better.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just trying...
I just ripped off the...
Be a man. Oh, I'm going to jack up.
See?
Yeah.
You see?
All right.
Save that one. I'll get it later.
You gave me defective ginger
I gave
beer.
you nothing that was defective, Devin. Only the best for you, my friend. There
See?
you go.
That's how it's supposed to be.
There you go.
That one didn't like me at all.
All right. Cheers. All right, so today we are going to talk about Civil War. As I said, this is a take two for us because the first one, we went down a lot of rabbit holes. Our editor and War Penguin here said we cannot do that, so he's like, we need to redo it. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are getting take two.
I know. I am.
So, all right, so let's start. Let's fire off, okay?
Yeah.
So,
No pun intended.
no freaking pun intended. All right, so I'm going to ask you guys a series of questions. You guys give me your answers one at a
I
time.
would say we go more into logistics.
Logistics?
Yeah, let's do this logistics. That's really what's the bread and butter of the Civil War.
All right, fire away then, sir. I pass it to you.
Well, start with you.
Okay.
I have lots of questions.
Okay.
No.
You must answer them or die.
I like a lawyer.
It's like, do we
We're
have
not
a
in America.
spotlight?
We're
No,
not recording
so-
this in America.
America. No, so basically, really, just one question. It's how do you think it would be fought?
How do you think the Civil War would be fought?
How do you think a civil? Not like let's say the two sides notwithstanding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say
What do you mean two sides notwithstanding?
basically we're not dividing the lines. We're not saying who's going to be pitted against each other. We're saying, for the sake of argument, there are two sides pitted against each other,
Right.
regardless of who that might be, right?
Mm.
Civilian, we're excluding military at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because obviously that's a whole other layer.
Right.
But between the two sides, what do you think? What do you see the logistics of such a war within this country looking like?
Like, are you referring to like tactics and equipment and stuff like
Tactics, equipment, supply lines.
that? Supply line. I mean, that's kind of a loaded question because,
Is it?
well, there's a lot of aspects. Look at. Like when it comes to, for example, a supply line. I could think of one particular side. If this is predominant, I don't think it'll be broken out by state, but it'll be more on ideas rather than so it's people who have the same ideas rather than
Right.
Florida against California or whatever.
Right.
But in regards to that, there is a stereotype to one particular side,
Right.
and that side is they hate firearms.
This is true.
They won't
I
watch
feel
this
like-
podcast, I assure you that.
Who knows? Please, I'd actually like to talk to some of you in the comments, but
Yeah.
Throw it in the
Yeah,
comment.
because you do hear a lot of them saying, "Hey, we should start a civil war." I would love
Oh, I'd love
So-
to talk to them in the
and
the
see
Yeah.
what
comments.
their idea of a civil war
Yeah.
would look like.
here's another
We should
problem.
have one on the podcast.
So here's another problem though with that. Again, more of a stereotype from what I've seen is a lot of that side is felons. So most of them probably won't have firearms because they aren't supposed to. Now there are exceptions to people who break that law and decide who cares.
Yeah, I would actually think
Yeah,
that.
Gage Groskowitz in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, he was a felon. He wasn't supposed to have a firearm, but he had
I think I don't know. Maybe being a felon might actually be the
Kyle,
reverse.
wait. Go back. Kyle Rittenhouse was a felon?
No. Gage Groskowitz, the guy who Kyle
Oh,
Rittenhouse was
okay.
vice of.
Yes. I was
that
like,
guy was a felon.
I was
No.
like, wait,
No,
what?
if Kyle Rittenhouse was a felon, that
That
would
would've
have
got-
been.
oh, that
he
would've
would have
been
been
horrible.
in jail right now, rotting.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. But yeah, so I do think that there's going to be one particular site. They're not going to resort to firearm use, especially looking at the 2020 riots. Not a lot of them, in fact, very few, were actually using firearms. Most of them were using other tactics and tools. So, like, they were using bricks. They were using cans of soup, oddly enough. They were also using, what was it? Like, I seen a video of a cop that got hit in the head with a car tire. Like someone took the tire off a car and used it as a
Listen, man, don't sleep on environmental weapons. Sometimes, if that's all you got,
Yeah.
I mean, so look, this is what I'm thinking. As you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? He might be onto something. They might not have weapons, but they might do,
conventional weapons.
They might do roadblocks and have beater sticks. And well, hey, you're laughing. If they catch
No,
on
I'm laughing
and they realize,
because I'm laughing because DeSantis a while back did pass a law that if they're doing that, it's legal to run them over.
right?
They do a roadblock on it.
Do
It's
you
just
think in the middle of a civil war?
Well, I think he's talking about roadblocks like legitimate garbage and stuff like in the road to stop traffic,
Yeah.
and you can't run that over
Yeah.
without.
Well,
just-
Well, no, I'm not talking.
I'm gonna get my hands on a Mack truck.
All right, go with me here. Think of The Walking Dead when they had traps on the road and stuff. They had used bodies, they used cars, vehicles, whatever they could.
Yeah.
So
well, we can.
if they are trying to cut us off supply line wise, think about it.
Well, we could go more. Well, it's okay. So that would work really well.
Let me finish on the logistics
Yeah,
side though.
Yeah.
another thing that we saw in those
Don't-
riots is
don't
that
let
there
me
were
forget to talk about that.
there was another thing that we were seeing during those riots in 2020 that they were using things like they were cramming nails in what was it, mortars, firework mortars, and then they would light them and throw them, and then they go off and kind of
So
send a little
make
bit of
sure-
shrapnel.
Is
Like,
an
basi-
improvised explosive device.
Yep, they were also using laser pointers and pointing them at the police officers' eyes to blind them. So I think that that's in terms of tactics and tools. If there was a civil war and it broke out into with that particular ideology being against the other ideology, we would see a lot of those tactics.
I don't
Definitely would
disagree.
see some firearm use from their side. Also, probably
Some, not a whole lot.
I think there's more than you think.
Yeah, I mean,
I've seen some videos, but I'm just saying.
I'm just Bauer. I'll say right now. I think there's a lot more than we think there are, but the competency level is not quite at
Right.
the height that it needs to be.
Not to mention that a lot of their firearms may be restricted firearms, like
California legal.
yeah, like heavy triggers, non-removable magazines. If it's California, you can't even wrap your
Did
hand
you
around the
see
pistol
that?
grip.
Did you see the magazine release they have in California? It's like you can't
Lack thereof.
just drop the mag. It's not just like a button, right? It's like a twist. It's almost like taking down the firearm, the takedown pins on an AR. You have to like, I think you have to like twist it and then pull it or something like that.
Well,
And, like
they used-
it doesn't drop free. You have to pull the magazine out.
Yeah, they used to have
It
what's
takes like
called
three different steps just to load a mag.
Yeah, they used to have what was called the bullet button, which is what I used to have. Had when I lived in California, I had an AR and I had to have a bullet.
I forgot you lived in California.
I know.
I know.
He doesn't portray it very well, at all.
It's because I lived 3 years and I want to forget those years. I went there for college. As soon as I finished college, got out of the state.
Yeah.
But for a while, I had to have a bullet button. And the whole idea behind it is that it's recessed. So the actual magazine drop is actually recessed and not, you can't just push it. You have to take, a bullet. That's the idea. Take
maybe
the tip
that's
of the
what
bullet,
I'm
take the tip
thinking
of the
of.
bullet and push it in
Right.
for it to drop it. So they did have that. That didn't stop people from using other methods to get it, like maybe a properly sized magnet that sticks out a little bit. Now you have a easily droppable magazine.
Yeah.
But point is, now I will say, I don't think a lot of those restrictions will actually matter in whatever civil war or whatever, what have you. One, because as soon as something like that happens, everyone's stinking undoing all those modifications and going straight. Who cares about
If they know how.
most
Well,
people
okay,
would
so
know.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm on the same lane with you, right? And I was just thinking if they know how, but then I thought about another thing. I thought underestimating your enemy is a very dangerous thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they can, even if they don't know now,
They could
they
surprise
can
you.
find someone who might know. It could end up being down to, hey, I know a guy, even though it's a simple task that anyone can do if they just put their mind to it. It could just be, hey, I know a guy. Let's take this down to him. He knows how to do it. And
Yeah.
he does it. Hey, I'll trade you whatever, money, cigarettes, drugs, whatever, right? Like, hey, you give me this, I'll fix your firearm for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it could just end up being like that. Here in Florida and places like that, don't have to really worry about that.
Yeah.
So for us, we wouldn't even really have to. We're not really thinking. We're not going to be fighting people in California.
No, probably not.
They're on the other side of the country.
No, we would most likely face off with
Probably
Atlanta,
Orlando,
Miami,
Miami.
Jacksonville. Like we would face off with the big blue cities most likely.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think it would be like us versus cities. I think it would be us versus people who are with a certain ideology in those cities.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't so much be.
I mean, we
so it
say
wouldn't
those
be-
cities
so-
because
'cause when-
those ideologies are predominant. In
Right,
those cities.
right,
They're
but-
Yeah.
dominant.
When we say, one thing I always kind of caution myself is when we say we're going to verse this city or even this county or whatever, it starts moving into we're going to fight the police in this place. We're going to fight the government in this place. You know what I mean? And the governments might actually be against what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And that's what
I would
sucks
say, I would
because
say it
there's
would be like factions of whoever.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it sucks because there's
blue
good,
faction,
there is
essentially.
good, God-fearing, like awesome police officers that like guys that just want people to understand that they are there to protect and serve.
Right.
And then there's cops that don't care as long as they get a paycheck. They don't care who they're going after.
Yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately, those numbers are going up, and the other side is going down.
I know because the good cops are leaving.
Yep,
The
'cause they
good
don't
the good
wanna-
guys in the military they're leaving.
Y'all,
You know?
y'all watch Administrative Results, right?
I have seen a couple videos.
Yeah, he used to be a cop, and he got out specifically because of that. And he had a couple friends who were cops who have done that,
Yeah.
all because
Same
of
thing
the
with
whole
Donut Operator.
COVID thing, right?
Yeah.
Donut operator left though because he was making more money doing videos.
I mean, he
No,
also
that's one-
said
that's
he
one
also
thing.
said the stress of being a cop too was heavy, but he was a cop like years ago.
Yeah. Who was it? Administrative Results. He was a cop fairly recently, like within the last. I think he finally got out within the last year, and then so now. But yeah, he's always been pretty vocal about cops being forced to do things, and now a lot of cops are leaving.
Yeah.
And the only ones staying are
The ones that don't care.
who don't care, who they'll follow whatever order they're given, and this
Yeah.
is why you see what we see in cities, especially cities.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Especially
cities is
food.
bad.
Yeah, cities, big metropolitan areas are probably the worst. You don't really see it too much in the smaller towns, mainly because there's not that.
They go by that
yes.
FAFO rule.
Yeah, it's just not a. Want to enlighten me? I don't know. I'm not sure.
F
about it.
around and find out.
Oh, sorry. When I think FAFO, I'm thinking military stuff.
Oh,
which
so
is-
what does that mean in the military?
It's not a. It's a classification.
Oh.
It's like classified. It's like,
No,
I'm like-
FAFO. F around and find out.
Mm-hmm.
okay. I don't think I've ever heard it actually abbreviated.
There's a couple of people I watch on YouTube. They have it abbreviated. They have their own flags like we do. If you guys have never seen our flag before, let me get out of the way. We have our own flag.
But so yeah. Back to what you're talking about. Barricades.
Barricades. Okay.
So you mentioned Walking Dead. But you don't even have to go into the fantasy world to talk about it. You can go into what we dealt with in Mogadishu, the Battle of Mogadishu during Black Hawk Down. That they were using barricades to funnel our troops in the direction that they want them to go.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get to the helicopter and they can't because they have these massive barricades with trash and tires and burning vehicles and things like that.
Yeah.
Don't even really have to go that far. You could just go back to Chaz from 2020.
That's where my mind went. I went, yep, what do they call that? The
City Hall Autonomous Zone.
City Hall Autonomous Zone.
That's what they originally called it, and then
And it
they
was
found
called
out.
the CHOP.
Yeah, well, they changed it. They changed it from Autonomous Zone to Occupy Protest because by occupying City Hall like that and declaring it an autonomous zone, they basically found out, like, I think they were informed by either local or state government, like, you realize you're declaring that independent from the United States, therefore that means we don't have to do anything to help you. And they were like, it's an occupied protest.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's a perfect example, and in the riots in Missouri as well, in St. Louis, they were actually burning cars and pushing cars in the middle of the road and setting them on fire.
Actually, you saying that actually kind of gets me thinking because that's a good logistical comment.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they required assistance, they are one side is very autonomous, while the other is not.
Needing help.
Continuing on, and that'll be an edit for the books. All right, so the Chaz Zone, Chop Zone. You were saying that if they needed help, that said what? It says what?
And basically that they are not. They can never be autonomous.
Oh, absolutely. Well, so here's the thing. I think it also provides that if that is anything demonstrative of the side that would be faced, that they would be a little bit more helpless than we might think, because I paid close attention to that. They had no idea what they were doing.
No.
So,
Okay, so I want to point out, in a total agreement with you, but I want to also point out the fact that they had their own police in that city for a little while, and look what happened. They ended up murdering 3 people.
That's a
defenseless people.
That's a strong word.
It was more of a mob
Police.
boss.
Okay, they had their own security force. They had their own law.
They
Right,
had their
but
own
here's-
enforcement team.
There you
But
go, enforcement.
Here's the thing on that. For one, they did try doing socialism over there.
During
so-
that time?
Oh yeah.
Did
Oh
they?
yeah,
really?
that was a perfect time for them to prove what
Dummies.
real socialism looked like.
And they did
And they
successfully.
did. And it
And-
didn't work out for the world.
Yeah, but they actually didn't allow people to carry guns. It was only the force that had guns. So it could have gone a little bit differently if the people who were in that protest actually had the guns instead of just that mob boss's force.
Right.
Now-
but what I'm saying is they shot at their mob bosses, their enforcers, whoever they were. They shot people.
They shot defenseless people.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different in a civil war, especially with people.
No.
who are more
I
experienced.
understand. I'm. What I'm trying to do is show their level of competence as far as
Or
that
the
goes.
lack thereof.
Exactly. My point exactly.
So another thing that they did, this could answer part of the supply chain logistics, that they needed food. Because they invited a bunch of homeless people in, and the homeless people stole all the food. So this is literally what happened. And what ended up happening is they were trying to start their own garden.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, they took pieces of cardboard, poured about 2 inches of topsoil on it. I don't think they understood what they meant by topsoil.
Yeah.
And then they tried to grow lettuce with it. Didn't work out.
Doesn't that take like months?
Well, yeah, it
Well,
would have
not only-
taken them like
so
3 or
I'm-
4 months just to grow like
so
a
I'm-
single head of
I'm
lettuce.
pretty sure, this is what I'm thinking. I'm pretty sure they saw a YouTube video or something. Then they missed a crucial step of drilling the holes into
No,
the cardboard.
No, they literally had unfolded boxes
That's what I'm saying.
on pavement.
I know, that's what I'm saying. They missed the step where they would drill the holes in the cardboard, put it on regular soil, and then and that would be the growing spots.
I think my theory is that they read topsoil and they were like, oh, it just has to go on top of something. and
know,
they
you
chose
might
cardboard.
actually pick- I will
they
not-
were smart enough to realize, well, it can't go on top of pavement. That'll never work.
As
So we'll do
much
cardboard.
as I
Cardboard
want,
on top of
as
pavement.
much as I want to argue with you, I can't. I can't. The logic is there. I can't help it. I'm sorry.
I mean, we've seen how dumb people are in the social media world, so it's.
Oh man.
Okay, that I want to take a quick transition, quick side trail. Okay, this has to happen because I thought about it today. I thought about it today because right now, the Second Amendment people, we are. I wouldn't say we're winning in the courts, but we're not losing either. I feel like every time we win, they throw another law in there to try to trip us up. But then that goes. There's a lot of stuff going in the Supreme Court right now.
Like the 1,000% tax right now.
Right. So they're throwing in new laws, and we're kind of winning them in court, kind of not. It's a back and forth, back and forth. It's a horrible tennis match to watch. But what I heard today baffled me. Okay, are you ready for this?
Okay.
They said they want to get rid of the Second Amendment altogether.
That's not new.
That's not new.
That's our side saying that.
Wait, what?
Wait, huh?
Our side is saying that they want to get rid of the Second Amendment because it shouldn't be regulated by the government what we can and cannot have. I agree with
But
that.
that's not
Hold
the
on.
point of. The,
I agree with that, right? I agree that we should. It's a God-given right, but these guys, the guys that I saw today, were talking about it should be. It shouldn't even be in the Constitution. It should be a God-given right. We shouldn't have it. And I'm sitting there thinking, right now, the only reason why we're winning battles in court is because of the Second Amendment.
So
that
I have.
sounds like a very misunderstanding of what the Bill of Rights is.
Yes, I want to see if I can connect the dots. They think it's not a governmental right. They think it's a God-given right. Therefore, we should not have the Second Amendment.
I think they're playing the same card that they were trying to play with marriage. Marriage isn't supposed to be. It's supposed to be municipal. It's not supposed to be at federal level.
Right.
Right. And that's why I believe that it's not has no place in the Constitution.
Right.
Marriage is a totally separate thing. It's a privilege, not a right.
Right.
Well, I think they're trying to play the same card with this, not realizing that the Bill of Rights is not like the part of the conventional Constitution like we think, like the rest of the articles and stuff. It's saying what the government cannot do,
Yes.
right.
not the other way around.
It's
Right.
precisely why we need the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
I agree.
The Second Amendment.
I'm baffled.
Like, the like he was talking about the Bill of Rights. It's established within that bill that these are not rights given by government. These are rights given by God. This document called the Constitution, it protects our rights from the government. So the Constitution, because that's the foundation of our country, that's what's prohibiting the government, or supposed to be anyways,
Well,
prohibiting the government
well, the main body of
from
the
that.
main body of the Constitution still gives the government powers.
Right.
It's still.
But
still
it has
establishes-
these rights, like you can't infringe on these.
Right.
Yeah,
So
but
it
that's
provides
the,
limiting
but that's
parameters.
that's like actually that came out way like a couple years after the initial Constitution was ratified, because they were like, hey, look, we need a Bill of Rights. We'll ratify this, but we need a Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights was supposed to be a separate, not totally separate, still part of the Constitution, but a portion of it that says these are the established rights of the people. These are what the government cannot do. They cannot infringe on the keeping and bearing of arms. They cannot stop us from gathering and peaceably and protesting. They can't inhibit the freedom of the press. They can't inhibit freedom of religion. These things.
Right.
They can't hold a small army inside of your home.
No.
Right? These are all things that the government cannot do, whereas the main body of the Constitution says this is what the government needs to do. Bill of Rights is what they cannot do.
Right.
And so I agree with you guys. I'm not saying that we should abolish the Second Amendment whatsoever. I think the Second Amendment is our foundational. It's part of our foundational document. It is the absolute reason why we are winning so many battles in court, because it clearly states shall not be infringed. What that meant was the government shall not be able to infringe on those rights. And when I heard this today, I was mind blown. I was like, "Are these people for real?
Yeah.
Like these
Well,
guys?"
like
And
I
said,
get why they want to, right? I get they want to be free, but I'm like, guys, you are approaching this the wrong
thing
way.
is that
do you know who did it?
I don't remember. It came up on my YouTube, and it just split up, and it was one of those short videos. So it came up, and it was like, we need to abolish the Second Amendment because it's a God-given right. It's not controlled by the government, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
see, the thing is I think that, first of all, I don't think that's our side. I think that's like a tiny little faction, maybe a small group of people.
sure.
So I think our side is predominantly like, no, we need the Second Amendment.
Right.
Now, on the flip side of things, I also think that those guys who were saying that didn't think it through. Like, they had, like, no forethought whatsoever, because they're like, we need to get rid of the Second Amendment because it's a God-given right. And if everyone just went, okay, guess what? Now you can't have arms. Like, well, this wasn't what I wanted. It was what you got.
Exactly what I was thinking.
You know?
Exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking the minute that goes away, it's like, okay, well, now you have no rights. Those are our guns.
Yeah.
Did you find something?
I'm waiting for it to load up.
All right.
Trying to see what. So
What did you
I
think
see something in
about the ginger beer?
in 2019.
It's pretty good.
Not bad?
Yeah, I mean, this one's really good. Like I said, the other one I tried, I don't know if it was old or, I forget, I think it was like some type of store brand. I can't remember, but it's
So the first time I had this, it came in like a tiny little bottle in my HelloFresh box. So
I'm not finding anything that's.
It's probably a small time channel because with shorts it'll pull up a bunch of random stuff.
yeah.
So it was probably some like small time channel that you'd have to do a lot of digging to find it.
Yeah.
And if all they have is the short up, then it's not. You probably won't find it.
Well, that was my short side trail. Apologies. Let's continue with logistics. and here's my take. Okay, call it a hot take. I don't care. There would be. I think there would be a big difference. And again, like I said, don't underestimate your opponent. Don't underestimate your opponent. But I feel like there would be one person, right, who is either on our side or whatever, that gets a bunch of money thrown at them, and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll train your guys. That's all it takes is one.
That's assuming that money is going to be a major value.
Gold will.
Okay.
Gold will
Right.
still be a major value.
I don't think.
Well, how many of us have gold aside from this guy?
That's none of this podcast business.
We can edit that out. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, well, here's the deal. Money has been as much as people like to talk about, it's a barter system. Currency has actually been around a lot longer than the barter system.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. It's easier to trade monetary value versus, well, I don't have anything you want. What do I give you?
Right.
You know, but I really need that thing. So you give them precious metals.
Well, I mean, there's even a currency in prison, too, that most of the time they use cigarettes, or they'll
Yeah.
use
Right.
food,
Well, that's still
commissary.
that would be a barter system.
Well, cigarettes are treated as more of the currency,
Right.
but treating like food and commissary stuff, that's barter,
Yeah,
more
that's what I'm
barter
saying.
related.
Yeah, the cigarettes.
Because cigarettes, most people, I mean, some people do smoke them, but most people get them just for the sole purpose of trading, and so
Right.
they became the unconventional currency.
Right.
I get what you're saying, though. I could see that there could be a mix of that.
There
I'm just saying,
could be.
Let's just say the currency didn't die when the greatest empire in the world, the Roman Empire, collapsed. Which currency still existed. So if that didn't get rid of it, I don't think America collapsing is going to get rid of it.
Yeah, but it would cause massive inflation, though.
Oh well, so if it goes back to precious metals.
Because we got off the gold standard under Nixon.
Our standard, we don't have anything backing up it. That's why we have so much inflation. It's because it's literally the wishes of the government stinking, saying they just print more money. It's literally air. So the money just goes up. So the inflation just goes up. However, if you have something with actual worth, then it's different. So that never really changes. Silver, gold, gems, or even spices, things like that. Those are always worth something, like legitimately worth something. And those would be currency.
I'm more speculative on depending on how bad it gets. Because I mean, like, if a civil war did break out, it's obvious that the entire population isn't going to be fighting, right? Like, it's going to be like during the Civil War in the 1800s, it was like 3%,
which is also a good point, because currency didn't die in the Civil War. It actually ended up with two currencies.
Yeah, but I mean, it also depends on how explosive this Civil War could be if we do see one in our lifetime, and if it throws a lot of crap out.
Pretty darn explosive. I mean, it was literally states against states.
Yeah.
More people died. More Americans died.
But I don't think this will be states against states. I think this will be.
That's what I'm saying.
Faction against faction, which, in my opinion, would be more explosive because it's going to affect a lot of these small towns a lot more.
Maybe. I don't know.
Let me ask you this. Let me throw this out there, because I went to a lighthouse this weekend on vacation, and I read up on some history on it, and apparently, this particular lighthouse, General Robert E. Lee ordered it to be blown up. Like, not blown up, obviously they didn't have like ordinances like that, but they basically ordered it to be tore down because they didn't want the Union Navy to be able to find this port. Mm-hmm. Do you think that sabotage would be a part of a civil war?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
That'd probably be one of the primary ways to disrupting the other side.
Let's put it this
sabotage.
way. Yeah, let's put it this way. The Geneva Convention won't apply to a civil war.
It ain't a war crime the first time, that's for sure.
It ain't a war crime at all, because it won't be a form of military.
Yeah, we're not a uniform military.
Yeah.
We don't fall under the Geneva Convention.
It's technically a war crime for you to dress up in an enemy uniform and infiltrate their ranks.
Yep.
That's a war crime.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So
yeah, the Germans committed a war crime when they did that in Bastogne.
Now, yeah, and apparently Russia did it with Ukraine too. They sent like 5 special forces
I've
in
seen
Ukrainian
that.
uniform, and they got caught.
Speaking of which,
they got caught.
Speaking of which, some female assassin just got caught attempting to kill was it Zelensky or whatever his name is.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Just a couple days ago, or a day or two ago.
But anyways, think about it like that, and when you think about it, they don't even need to get like a uniform and pretend to be a part of it. They just need to be like, "Hey, I'm on your side," and then everyone's like, "Okay," and then they're secretly reporting information back to their group.
From what I heard, that was one of the biggest problems they had in Iraq, because all these guys looked exactly alike. You just didn't know who had an AK in their back pocket, or obviously not in their back pocket, but like
in their back pocket.
Well, it's actually worse than that, because in Iraq, it's perfectly fine for anyone to carry a AK-47 on their back.
Yeah.
Just walk around with an AK-47. So, you can walk around downtown, see a normal farmer hanging out with his kids with an AK, and that's normal, but you still have to worry about, okay, is he actually Al-Qaeda?
Right.
Is he Taliban?
Well, that's the point I was getting.
Family man.
That's the point I was getting to, and I feel like that would be I don't know if that would be a good thing or a bad thing on our side, but I mean, I almost feel like that's what the guy that I heard the interview on said. He said that when he was in Iraq, that there was issues because they couldn't identify friend from foe because of that situation. And they said it was nothing to see a guy and think threat, no threat. He doesn't really look like a threat, and then take off down the road, and this guy runs up behind him, starts shooting him in the back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that would be a very bad issue. I mean, we all know of the situation that happened at the Capitol, and there was one particular person that was yelling, "We need to go inside of there. We need to go inside of there." And everybody, there's one video that everybody looked at him and went, "Fed, Fed, Fed!" Like they were screaming "Fed" at the top of their lungs. Like they kind of realized it right away. So
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, that guy also had a warrant put out for his arrest.
huh?
He had a warrant put out for his arrest.
I think they've arrested him since then. Just like within the last week or two, I think they
They might
arrested
have.
him.
I haven't seen that one yet, but I had seen that.
Because everybody was hollering, "Why has this guy not been arrested yet?"
Yep.
And so I think they arrested him. But you know what happened? They arrested him. They brought him to a federal prison. They processed him. And, oh, look, there's an open door. There you go. Out the door he went.
Yeah. But yeah. Another thing too, which hopefully it would never come to this. I'd be very upset if it came down to this. But in the Middle East, in those wars, they would also use women and children, especially children.
I don't
And
think we would need to.
I hope not.
We would
Well,
not.
we wouldn't need to, obviously. Like that would be completely off limits.
Yeah.
I don't think they. Well, I
but
don't know. They
I
are,
feel like women
the other
would want to
side-
fight on this side,
well,
though.
The other side.
Somewhat.
Well, you got to remember the other side does believe in abortion.
Yeah.
So that's just the opposite of their jump.
I
Yeah.
mean, think about it this way: from where their stance used to be on abortion, and where compared to where it is now, it took like 10 years. Only 10 years just to get to that point. Which most of the time, it escalates like very, very slowly. They made that jump very quickly, so
Yeah.
he might be right where it won't be that far off. Where
I
it's
was
like,
gonna
oh,
say-
you know, it's
And-
War has a way of changing people's minds about certain things. Like I have certain morals. Like, look, I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to engage in this, and I would try to stay neutral as possible until it came to my front doorstep. But if everything broke out tomorrow, war has a way of changing people's minds.
if it comes to my front door tomorrow, I'd be like, finally. I've been
I wish
waiting
you guys
for
could have
this.
seen his face on camera just now. Oh my gosh!
It's like, for
Friendly
me-
fire is off.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. Okay, friendly fire is not allowed.
That's right, Josh. Friendly fire is not allowed.
It's not off at all.
Wow.
What? You would friendly fire?
No.
Liar, plants for hire.
Wow. He's coming. He's
He's the one that I'm talking about.
He's the only one who's committed fratricide in this room. It was on a video game.
Yeah,
it was on
on
a
a video game.
Yes, I totally shot Devin.
Yeah, in the face.
Right before he said, "Hey, friendly fire is on, right?"
That was right after, like, we were playing 6 Days in Fallujah. We were playing 6 Days in Fallujah, and they give you, like, a 15-minute time limit to accomplish the mission. And we just, for the life of us, we couldn't figure out where this mission was. And so we ran to, like, one corner of the map, and we realized, oh, it's not over there. So then we're watching the time tick down. It's probably, like,
And of course,
20 seconds.
If you go the wrong way, you're fighting all the way to the wrong way, and then all of a sudden you have no time because now you have to fight all the way to the real place and probably die anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have yet to complete a mission. We have died literally every time.
I
But
can't wait till that comes out on PlayStation, dude. I want to
Yeah.
play that.
Be careful what you wish for.
Why?
bro, is bad.
I wanna
It is
play it.
so hard.
I don't want to play with you on my team, though.
That's
Well,
Oh,
you
we've only
might
got
have
20
to.
seconds left. We're not going to win anyways. Doosh. I'll just shoot Josh in the back of the head.
I'm gonna shoot you in the back of the head like 20 seconds into it, let alone
Dang.
away. That's how you like get initiated into our squad. It's
Right.
like you have to
We'll revive you, but
maybe, but but yeah, no. So like he was looking
This
at the
is the
map.
squad that I have to look forward to right now if Civil War were to break out.
right.
So I'm stuck between a guy that's like, "Let's go," and stuck between a guy going, "Yeah, you'll do."
I haven't
just
shot
want-
anybody today. I need someone.
He's like, "I just need fresh blood."
Fresh meat, fresh meat. But
Like-
so he was looking at Devin was looking at the map and trying to figure out where it was, and I look as like we have 15 seconds left. I'm like, we're not gonna get there, and so I just shout out, "Hey, is friendly fire on?" And then tapped him.
Just my screen goes blank, just black. I'm like, did you just shoot me, dude?
Well,
So
he
you-
requested friendly fire. I mean, is that like requesting fire support at the same time? I don't know.
I'm just saying, I had a question and I needed an answer.
Well, it looks like you
Apparently I
answered
was-
your own question.
Apparently that was the answer.
Well, all right. Final thoughts. Civil War.
Final thoughts on Civil War?
Yeah.
Well, I hope it never happens.
Yeah, I mean, here's hoping that it doesn't happen.
I would much rather a World War III happen before.
Yeah,
Civil War.
agreed.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we can all three agree on that. I'd rather a World War III than. I mean, technically, we're almost there. I mean, we've got a war going on across seas that a lot of countries have their fingers in the pie, but nobody's taken a full slice yet,
Right.
except for the two countries
Hey.
that are fighting.
Well, we could talk about that. We'll talk about that in the next one.
Yep.
Next one, you heard it here you heard it here first, folks. Words are hard, apparently. I swear there's no alcohol in this at all. Promise. All right. Well, we got some new sound equipment. We got some new stuff up on the wall. We're getting it done, folks. We're getting it done. We're trying to provide you with awesome, amazing content. So, Devin, last words. Anything? Any words of wisdom?
Yeah. Prepare for just protecting yourself. It doesn't have to be for Civil War. It could just be for natural disaster, but just prepare yourself.
Fair. Eric, any
All right.
final words?
I agree with Devin. Just be ready. Have a go plan. Have a place where you might need to go if things go south, and get all the proper equipment you're gonna need. And I highly suggest learning how to use a firearm because it'll definitely help you. If you don't know how, it'll definitely help you with protecting yourself and your family.
And I will say this for my final words. Ladies and gentlemen, practice spiritual fitness as well. Know Jesus, because you never know when that time comes. And hey, you might get friendly fire shot in the back of the head. It could be an accident. It could truly be an accident. Just
Could be a
make
mercy
sure-
kill.
Make sure on that day, whatever day you need it, you got your spiritual fitness in check and you got a good relationship with Jesus. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for this week. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.